Honest as Hell, a Men of Metal podcast. I'm your host, Kit Brooks. Welcome back for another round. One of the things I get asked a whole lot is, and not just by dent guys or tradesmen, just men, women in general, all clients I've had when I've worked at workshops. Somebody always asks some form of this question. We got into the straw that breaks camel's back a little bit. We got into the outcome of the stack up of some of this week's topic. We got into the outcome a little bit in the last episode or 2 episodes ago. I'm not real sure, but just talking about how hard the mental aspect of road life can be, of traveling, and being so far away, being on storms, being on a hard deal, and it's piled up from all the stuff at home on top of it. We're really building the foundation. But the question I get so often from, say, clients, workshops, just all around, people are wondering somehow, like, why is my mind broken, or is my mind broken? Why do I only recognize the negative stuff? And what's wrong with me? Why can't I be a positive thinker? So I want to kind of demystify a lot of this. Now, studies have shown a whole lot that it is far more important to think negatively less than it is to think positively more, or more positive versus less negative. And so a lot of people just go into trying to be a more positive person, have better outcomes, speaking affirmations, journaling, all this stuff, wanting to think more positive, and that's the goal. And then as soon as they think negative, like actually, a friend of mine, John Trice, great friend of mine, if you ever get the chance to work around him, I highly recommend it. But he and I used to challenge each other, and once in a while we still will shoot out a text like, hey, I'm doing the challenge. And it's a no negativity for 24 hours challenge. And it's literal. You're supposed to do it as much as you can. The trick is, or the catch is, it's impossible. We can't not think negative. We're designed to. But the challenge is, as soon as you catch yourself thinking something negative, you have to start over, and it's another 24 hours. And it's phenomenal because it makes you really aware of your thinking. It really brings up that awareness, especially like John and I did. Like, we would challenge each other while we were on a gig, not the toughest gig, but we were on a tough gig. And so we were keeping each other going. We'd set daily goals, we'd set weekly goals, and it's like, hey, if we reach this, we're going here, we're doing this. And it got down to the point where it's like, dude, if we survive Monday through Friday and we're both still here, we're going to Dairy Queen to celebrate on Friday night. And it was just one of those deals. And we did pretty good, but we kept each other going. We were definitely doing better than anyone else that was on that deal. And I say it wasn't the ideal circumstances. We were in an old fruit stand in the middle of Texas in early summertime, and it was blazing hot. There's black widows and snakes everywhere. It was just so many different obstacles. And of course, the damage was not, the most perfect damage in the world. And the numbers were okay. It was all these different things. And we were up against a lot of little things. None of them were knockout shots to us on their own. But there were so many little and medium-sized challenges to overcome that it was just, man, we didn't have electricity. We couldn't charge batteries. Like, it was just all this stuff. Then there's hurricanes or tornadoes blowing through in the middle of the week. Like, just so many different fun things. One of the most memorable storms I've ever been on. And John was a big part of that. And anyway, so we'd hold each other to it. And I was starting over nonstop. It was my idea for the challenge. And I was just, it'd be like every 7 minutes. I was like, oh, starting 24 hours over again. But by the end of that day, we'd start again, and you started again. And that's the idea with the challenge, actually, that a lot of people aren't told, is you're always starting over. because our minds are designed to think negatively. So before you know it, you've done this 24-hour challenge for a few days or a week. Problem is, a lot of people are like, oh, I failed it. I can't do it. Or people that don't know about the challenge, they say, I've been approached plenty of times with like, man, positive thinking is great, but like, how do I get to be that person? How do I get to be optimistic? And we get this idea in our head that either we're optimistic and positive all the time, or we just fail at it, and we're not. We're a negative person. That's not true. We are designed to be negative thinkers. In fact, our negative thinking impacts us twice as much as positive thinking. There are other studies that say if you think one negative thought, to balance it out with the opposite, you have to think the opposite thought, the opposite positive thought 16 times, 16 times to balance it out and like come back at ground zero, and then a 17th time to put you one into good for positive. There's a whole lot of other studies that give different numbers and different factors and calculations and outcomes and all that. But all the studies show it's more challenging to think positive and negative. One of the things that's constantly overlooked in a lot of personal development, a lot of teachings and all this, like people are very focused on, oh, all you got to do is think positive, 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 positive. And it's great. It's great, something great to aim at, definitely. Like I was talking to my wife this morning, or yesterday actually, about one of our morning conversations we have every day. Of one of the things I learned from, I first heard it from Jack Canfield. I heard several other people, and I know some people who actually said it and taught it before him. But when I first heard it, it was through Jack Canfield. And it was just the same. He's like, if you stub your toe or your car breaks down or whatever it is, you just say, oh, what fun. And it's goofy. It's hokey. It's all those things. But it works. It actually helps. Even though you know why you're saying it, it's something different. It's silly, and that's part of it. If you feel a little silly, you can't feel all the way angry, right? You can't feel all the way grumpy or sad or whatever you want to call it. And I'm not telling you to go around just saying, oh, what fun every time something bad happens. What I actually say is, as soon as I catch myself thinking something negative or getting really angry or frustrated, it's just cancel, cancel, cancel. For a long time, that was my daily mantra, probably 50 times a day, especially on a lot of different storms that have been on. And, it's pool paint or tool breaks or car totals out, like whatever it is. And the idea with that is just not going fully into the negative, right? Just not getting down into that negative, because we naturally go there. And I want to get into that, like why we naturally go there, because like I say, I've had a lot of people reach out thinking that something is actually wrong with their mind specifically because they can't not think negative. It's like, oh, I do the positivity challenge and I don't even make it 30 minutes and then I'm noticing something that's wrong, something I don't like, whatever. It's like, great. That actually shows you that your mind is working exactly how it's supposed to. Because, especially when you're doing something like a positivity challenge, because you're trying to program yourself to only think positive, yet your mind is designed to recognize the negative. So when you're trying to recognize the positive and yet you still, when something isn't right, you pick up on it, that's a good thing. Reason why, you got to realize our minds, our bodies, everything about us is designed to live in a totally different world. It's designed to live on Earth, but not the one we live in modern day. It's not meant for downtown cities. It's not meant... We're meant to, at most, be in a tribe of like 150 people. We pass 150 people before we even get to work, unless you work inside the home. But even then, you've had some form of interaction or communication or contact with 150 people. most people in today's world, before they even get out of bed, have already gotten at least half of that because they start scrolling. I know so many people that their phone is right next to the bed and they're scrolling before they even get out of bed on Facebook, on social media. Well, those are all little interactions. Those are all people your mind is logging that you've had interaction with. But again, we are designed for tribes of like 100 and 150 people. Um, so our energy is just being zapped. Our minds are going crazy at a whole different level. But we'll get more into that type stuff down the road sometime. But I really want to focus on this negative thing because I say there are. I can't tell you how many deals I've been brought onto, and so it's like I wanted. Actually, I was working in Omaha, and a group was talking to me about coming on and helping them with a retail deal. As soon as I finished the deal, I was on a wholesale deal, and I was like, man, I just got to wrap up this week, helping some friends out. They're leaving the deal, and then once they're done, I'm a free agent. I'm deciding what my next move is going to be. And and the guy running the deal, he's like, I've got 3 shops going right now, plus the one I'm at. He's like, but I'm just estimating cars, send them out to the other shops. He's like, I want to send you to this shop that's south of here. It's like, cool. What's the deal with that one? He's like, I need you there. He's like, because my guy there, he's great tech, good dude, love the guy, but man, he's just negative 24/7. He's like, never hear a positive thing come out of his mouth. I get something similar to that a lot of someone that knows me from Facebook or has just known me for a while, or whatever, heard about me through other people. Like, I want to put you next to this guy. I want you to tack cars with this person. I want you to go talk to this person. I want you to up their attitude. And it's very easy for people to get pulled into that, but they're especially where we're just kind of running things a little passively, because it takes effort. Again, it takes effort to think positively, especially in a modern world, because again, we are being zapped. Our energies being and attention are being zapped everywhere we turn. I think when I first started studying this stuff, the idea was consciously with your conscious mind, subconscious mind. Conscious mind is what you're listening to me with, and any questions or thoughts you have that are like, if we were having a conversation, that any thoughts or responses or questions you would want to be sending my way, that's your conscious mind. Subconscious mind is all the beliefs running in the back of your mind. It's also your heart rate. It's your controlling your hair growth. It's controlling your pulse, your breathing, all the things you're not thinking about, except breathing now that I've brought it up. And you can consciously control your heart rate a little bit, actually a lot of it. It's a little more challenging, but easily doable, actually, once you know what to do. Most of the time. But anyway, so when I first got into this, the school of thought was somewhere between 126 bits and 132 bits of information was handled per second by your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind, depending on what school of thought you went with, was between 4 million and, well, actually when I first got into it, it was 2 million, like 2.2. Anywhere from there to 140 bits, 140 million bits of information. So between 2.2 million and 140 million bits of information every single second, subconsciously. Subconscious mind is running the show. Another way of saying that is 95% of your life is run subconsciously, 5% of your life is run consciously. Some school of thought actually says it's 99.5% subconsciously, but I'm not a mathematician and I really don't care that much. I just know the facts, because all the factors that go into them calculating that change on a regular. In fact, it's changed so much that now they say it's well over 10 billion a second subconsciously, and less than 10 bits, 10 bits consciously. So now the biggest discrepancy in that is they can't agree on what's a bit of information, like where that calculation is, especially in discussing this. But to show you some of the differences and why there is such a big difference, there is every one of the hairs on your arm is calculating the breeze. They're also growing at their own rate if they need to grow. They're not growing. Then if you pluck one, they are growing. Your skin is picking up the temperature, the wind, all the stuff. All these things are little calculations, little bits of information. Plus, every belief we have is running the background of our mind. At all times, it's running the show. Conscious mind is just gathering new information and seeing if it's anything we need to pay attention to. So, back to the negative piece. There's so much more we could go into on that. So much more. But we'll save it for another show. The negative piece. Why do we recognize negative more than positive? It's a survival mechanism, program. We are not designed to thrive necessarily. We are designed to survive and then have thriving possibly be a side effect. Our prime directives, subconscious mind has about 18 prime directives. Run the show, cannot be changed, are true for everybody. And number one on it is safety, preservation, and it goes on from there. But no matter what, safety and preservation are first. So what comes with that? Recognizing the negatives. Meaning, if there's a loud noise outside, subconscious mind needs to know, was that just a tree falling? Was that a rock slide? A boulder slide? What the heck? Rock slide? Is that going to cover up the cave we got in shelter? Is that going to keep us from food? Is it a loud monster or a predator? Is it a storm coming? You know, all these different things. It needs to know, what was that sound? If a tree falls in the woods, doesn't make a noise when nobody's there. I actually learned not too long ago that, in fact, it does not make a noise. It is our interpretation, our perception that it does make noise. We might get into that at another date, because there's a lot of layers to that. But anyway, so if we're walking outside the cave, we see a bush move. Our mind automatically, all of our attention goes to that. That is a negative. That is something changing in the environment. Something that was a still bush, which is normal. Bushes do not move. That something that is normally still and peaceful is now moving, and there's noise in it. So we need to know, is that a food source? Is that something we are a food source for? Is it a predator? Is it an enemy? Is it a sign? Is it just moving because it's a wind from a storm blowing in? Remember, we are not designed for the modern day world. We were designed for a time when shelter was not readily available. Food was not really readily available. We were walking food ourselves for many of the species and creatures that were on this planet. So whenever we see something, whenever we interact with a person, whenever we see something, whenever we hear something, anything, there are three questions that run through our mind at a very subconscious level at the mammalian brain. Our mammalian brain is the most prehistoric part of our brain. A lot of people even say that is where the subconscious mind actually comes from. All the programming of hundreds of millions of years of programming and even evolution. And anyone who wants to freak out on saying they don't believe in evolution, I'm talking about evolution of the brain, because our brains have evolved, because we didn't have prefrontal cortex and all this other stuff till like hundreds of thousands of years ago. So we've got this part in our brain that a lot of people say is over 10 million years old. It is the same. Our mammalian brain acts and functions exactly the same, basically, as squirrel, dog, pig, horse, like all that. Our conscious mind is in the rest of the brain, things like prefrontal cortex, and gives us all the thought and ability. That's not been around very long at all, and that's what we again, speak to each other with, do our fantasizing, our visualization, all of this stuff, our planning, our planning out the day, everything else. But in the early days, our goals were find shelter for the night, find shelter to get out of the storm more than anything. Otherwise, we could sleep outside. Then find food, don't get killed. So there are like three questions, programming questions are basically running at our mind, let's say in that mammalian brain. Every time we have some form of communication or data come in, every single time. Every time you meet somebody, it's, do I eat it? Does it want to eat me? Do I mate with it? Basically, that's it. Because we are safety first, preservation second, keep the species going. To do that, we got to keep ourselves safe, and then we got to procreate. So that's basically the only thing running at that natural level. That's why so many dent guys, a lot of times on the hell trail, can get in trouble. Somebody with a $5 sundress, all of a sudden guy ends up with lifetime of child support. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So recognizing the negatives kept us surviving then. We were looking for saber-toothed tigers, bears, all of this different stuff. Anything that could harm us, anything that could kill us. We were also looking for anything we could eat. Now, if we were to think positive all the time and never think negative, something could move, let's say this bush with beautiful buds and flowers on it, moves, and it just gains our attention, and we didn't have any of those negative thoughts running through. We just look at it and say, oh, it's so pretty, let me go sniff the flowers. And go over and stick your face down, sniff the flowers because they smell so great, and then a saber-toothed tiger jumps on your face. And one of my favorite quotes from an animated movie ever, I can't remember it exactly right now, I don't even remember what movie it was. I think it was called Dinosaur, and it's Sam Elliott's character. He's a T-Rex and he's got all these scars on his face, and he's like, you haven't ever lived until you've had a gator on your face or something like that. But anyway, if I'd had any idea that's where this was going to go, I would have looked that quote up and got it correct. But that is my favorite quote, and I don't even know, but it's like my favorite part of an animated movie. I actually didn't like that movie besides that part, really. From what I remember, I saw it right after it came out when my kids were that age. Now we're way outside of the Pixar years. Anyway, I think that was Pixar. I don't know who that was. Anyway, so when you're thinking negatively, they give yourself a little bit of a break because you were designed to go that way. Because let's say if we didn't have those negative thoughts, our species would not be here. We would not have survived. We would be food. We might have survived, but we would be food for everything else. Like, it seems to me penguins were basically born to be food for like seals and the shamu fish, whatever, the orca whales and polar bears. And it's like, if reincarnation is a thing, that's where politicians come back at us, our penguins, and fake, faulty religious leaders and all of those. Anyone who like really defrauds people and takes advantage of weaker people or sacred things. Anyway, that's kind of my belief. So back to the show. Yeah, we would never have gotten to the top of the food chain had we not recognized negatives, if we didn't have these negative thoughts. Now the challenge is now why it seems so overwhelming, or like when something gets delayed and like we know what's going to happen, like say insurance adjuster, we're waiting on approval on something and we don't get it the day we think we do, and it gets like frustrating, even though you know it's going to get approved. Like they're not going to let this car sit there forever. They're going to approve it. If you're in roofing, like, it's going to get approved. Like, the work's there. Everything's in process. Everybody has it. Deadlines and things they're held to. It's just sometimes things get a little delayed, but it's not just annoying. It gets like really frustrating, or it can even get infuriating, because we got all these other little things that are going on, right? And we're stressing out about our own deadlines. We're stressing out about the money we are or not making. We're stressing out about the money that we're spending to be on the road. All these different little things. And in our mind, because our subconscious mind, our conscious mind really doesn't actually see what we think it does, doesn't see what we see. And that can be a little challenging to wrap your noggin around. But just to kind of prove it real quick, take a second, listen to this. First answer that comes up: what color is a yield sign? This will really only work for people in North America, but or anyone who's driven in the States, maybe. But what color is a yield sign? I'm willing to bet that just about everyone out there, unless you've just been to the DMV and taken a test in the last couple of days, everyone said yellow. However, the yield sign has not been yellow since 1984 or 1986. I don't remember which right now off the top of my head. But it switched then. It went from yellow and black to white with red trim and red letters. As soon as I said that, it came to mind. And I'm right. It's been that way forever. Most of us have never even seen a yellow yield sign. Now, why? Why did we answer yellow? Especially, my favorite thing about it is I've done that with people who were born in the late 80s, 90s. Even somebody recently who was born in 2002, and they still said yellow. They have never seen a yellow yield sign. So why do so many people answer yellow? Well, one of the biggest things, there's a couple layers to that, and I'll save that for another day. But one of the main things is we do not see with our eyes. We see through our memory. Whenever we hear sound, see something, see a picture, see a movie, see anything, hear words, breathe in a smell, taste something, get any data, whatever you call it, coming in, our mind does three things real quick. It's got a couple of filters and it runs it through all of them. It generalizes, distorts, and deletes information, because it has to process, remember, billions of bits of information every single second. To be able to do that and survive, like if a furry critter jumps out at us and we take even a full second to realize that's a saber-toothed tiger that's pouncing on us, we're dead instantly. So it has to, in less than a second, determine, is it a saber-toothed tiger? Is it a bunny rabbit? Is it going to eat me? Am I going to eat it? Do I need to attack it? Do I need to defend myself? All this stuff. All of that happens in less than a second. It has to. In order to do that, he can't do what the conscious mind is doing, communicating like we're doing right now. Well, more me to you. But it can't speak to itself. It can't process information and sift through it in full sentences, run-on sentences, especially with me, or even broken English sentences that are just a few, like a toddler. It can't do that. Time is very much of the essence, because it is working in survival at all times. 24 hours a day, survival is running to show that safety and preservation. Remember, so to be able to do that, it has to condense all these different memories into a picture, basically a representation of it. So it has to bring similar events and overlap them in what's called a gestalt, and it's installed in our database, in our timeline, in our mental filing cabinet. So that is done, and every time we have another interaction, that's what's going on. Every time we see something new, it's going through those filters, getting generalized, distorted, and deleted, and put in the box. memory is not for accuracy. It's not for reminiscing. It is for survival and efficiency and performance. It's not made for today's world. And that is actually one of the things that actually makes things like Instagram made it take off so well. Because we can have still shots right there. It appeases the mind. It's the visual. It's all the color, all that. We can get into so much of the mental manipulation of the world and marketing and apps and social media and phones and all this on 75 different episodes. But Instagram mimics in a visual, external way how the mind works. In a kind of a crude, simplified way. But anyway, so we had to recognize what were the negatives. We had to recognize what's different, what we need to pay attention to. The rest of it gets taken out. So when a big furry creature pops up, we don't care about, at the subconscious level, we don't care about what color is the fur, what breed of animal is it, how old is it, how tall is it, what's its name, should I make it a pet, any of that. It's looking for claws, teeth, things like that, and it has to, again, analyze it very quickly, because also it needs to know, is it going to eat me? And if it's something like a bunny rabbit or something like that, and it's like, oh no. And if we need food, it also processes, okay, is it going to eat me? How do I protect myself? How can I attack it? Like, it's going through all of that. And it's with that with everything. So, but it's all looking for, it's got to recognize the negatives in the environment first, so we keep ourselves safe. Because no matter how vulnerable, like, set a bear trap out or any kind of trap and it severely wounds, I don't know, a coyote or a pig or a rabbit or whatever. So we can't just even walk up and get that food, right? And then we're fed. We still have to think negatively, because what if there's another predator waiting in the bush? What if there's one that sees it and is working its way down? Or it was in the area, it's already seen me. It was coming for the bunny in the trap, but now it sees me and now it's already stalking me and I'm not even aware of it. So we had to be on high alert at all times. Now, in today's world, we have no saber-toothed tigers in existence, and very few of us live within an hour of a bear. Definitely not a 30-minute walk of a bear, majority of us. What else? Food is within 5 minutes of just about every one of us in the North America. And shelter, but we're literally inside almost all day. And even when we're not inside, we're inside a car. And I have slept in my car way more than most humans. So that's shelter, right? Like, we are always there's shelter everywhere. So we don't have any of those major concerns anymore. Not what the subconscious considers real concerns. And yet, with that same saber-toothed tiger energy, it's recognizing all these other negatives. So to our subconscious mind, the adjuster not showing up on time, customer not showing up on time, pulling paint on a car, your kid spilling milk on your paperwork, your spouse curbing the car or curbing the wheels on a car, like all of that little stuff really isn't all that important. Is important to us in certain contexts, but we're looking at it, we're processing it through saber-toothed tiger level energy or thinking. So that's one of the reasons why we're misproportionate in our response to things. That's why something can throw us off for a big part of the day. Because once we're kind of in that negative mindset, then it's even easier to pick up on all the other little things, because now we've triggered our RAS. Talked about that on another episode. earlier episode, the reticular activating system. Once we're in this, our mindset, it's way easier to pick up on the negatives. So when we get these negative thoughts in, like say, if there's actually an emergency or something that really actually is important and needs to be handled, you handle it, but then you just kind of let it go. And even if you can't let it go, because I am the king of, I'll let it go with this hand, catch it with this one, and then slip it around and put it in my pocket. If holding a grudge was an Olympic sport, my mom would have been a gold medalist, and I would have kept the legacy going. So, or holding on to just things in general. Boy, you would think I'd love to be grumpy as much as I could hold an attitude for a day, just try chip on shoulder. It took me a lot of work to get through that, and still every single day I'm working on it. Years and years, like over 2 decades now I've been working on it. But anyway, so it can be done, but I say do something to break the pattern. When you catch yourself having a negative thought, negative response, you drop your plate of food at work, you fall down. Like, there's, I can't remember, some study psychologists have done or whatever for parents. It's like the best thing you can do when your child falls down the first time, or any time when they're in their toddler years, they look at you first. They look to the parent first before they respond, unless it is like brutally painful. And even then, there's a split second. But in those moments, they look to the parent first before they respond. They watch and see how the parent responds. Then they respond. And they're mimicking typically what the parent's doing. And there's research done on it. Like, the worst thing you do is make a big deal about it. Best thing you can do is, of course, check on the kid, make sure they're physically okay. But stay calm, and it's just not a big deal. So when my kids would fall when they were young, like, give them a score, it's like 9 out of 10, that was awesome. And you really stuck the landing on that, or whatever. And they've always been good at walking it off, shaking it off. Luckily, neither one of them have ever really gotten seriously hurt. My oldest son, when he was a teenager, he did pull-ups on an old house, and there was a nail sticking out on it, stuck to his finger. That's about the most major thing he's had happen. But they've had a lot of bumps and bruises. But some of the reasons why they haven't really gotten hurt much is because I never acted like they were hurt. I fractured my foot earlier this week. Same thing. Like, as soon as it happened, I just kept talking like nothing happened. Just kind of laughed it off, and it hurt. And 4:30 in the morning, dropping the weight on your foot at the gym, like, it does not feel good. And I wear barefoot shoes, so there was nothing protecting me. And my wife was watching it, and her face was like, "Oh my goodness." But yeah, you gotta train yourself to not get triggered, to not really react, not in a moment. Like, even when it's bad, you gotta handle it at some point. Like, you have to handle it. I'm not saying ignore it. I'm just saying don't, like, throw a fit about it. Don't sit there and wallow in how bad it sucks. Like, embrace the suck. Navy SEALs have, I've heard it's all special forces, but the SEALs, I believe, at least started it. Embrace the suck. Enjoy this. That makes you stronger. That's making you better in some way. But when something does happen, say, just have some kind of, oh, what fun, or cancel. Have something that's going to break the pattern instead of allowing the emotion to take over. And just take a deep breath, blow it out. Do what's called a primal scream if you've got to, which is, we might get into more depth at another time, but like, just kind of think about everything that frustrates you all at once, and then fill your diaphragm with air, and then just roar it out for as long as you can hold the breath out until you run out of breath. But you can do that type of stuff, but just let it out and just roll on. Do something. Don't just sit there and talk about how terrible it is. Don't scream and yell about it forever, because then at the end of it, you still have to fix it, and you've added shame onto it because you let it get a hold of you. And we run through a ton of different negative emotions with it, and they all get stacked to it. And in what's called a gestalt, again, we might get into that. I'm sure we'll end up getting into that at some point. And a lot of the work I do with people is around releasing the gestalt, in a sense, and collapsing the energy, the negative emotions around things, so they don't control us. So we can, because the reason why it sticks with us so long, the reason why it's so easy to hold ourselves in those moments, is whenever emotions are high, the subconscious mind kicks in, and it's like, okay, there's something we need to be paying attention to here, especially when it's negative, because it's like there's something to learn here. And if I learn it, whatever that something is, then we never have to experience this pain again. Because in our brains, in our minds, emotional pain is the same as physical pain, especially like intense emotional pain. Not, oh, they got my Starbucks order wrong. I'm talking about like real emotional pain, things like heartbreak, finding out some real terrible news, things like that. Actual problems and things in the world, not first world problems. But the mind is functioning exactly how it's supposed to if that's happening to you. And if you've learned and programmed yourself to respond positively, they recognize it and go on, because that's all we need to do. We just need to know something's off, and then we go to fix it. We don't have to get emotional with it. It's just we've learned to, we've been programmed to, even genetically, it's been passed through our DNA now for generations and generations, to get bent out of shape by something emotionally. That's how we got responses. Because again, even the reason why that happens is, as a child, as an infant, had a subconscious mind. In fact, up until around age 8, we are just little subconscious minds running around in physical form. And as an infant and as a toddler, that safety and preservation survival mode was really kicking in, and we were just only thinking of ourselves and what we needed to get, and we couldn't feed ourselves, we couldn't do anything. So we learned through emotions and we couldn't speak. We learned how to communicate and interact with people and basically manipulate them into getting what we want, because that's all communication really is a form of manipulation. Manipulation is not automatically a positive or negative thing. It's got a negative connotation in today's world. But when a sculptor or an artist is creating a piece of art, they are manipulating the canvas, they are manipulating the paint, they are manipulating the clay, or the real true artists are using Play-Doh. And anyway, or a post I even saw recently is turning Tootsie Rolls into, what's that little ugly dude? Not Fauci, E.T. Yeah, taking food and turning it into art, Tootsie Rolls and things like it's Play-Doh. But anyway, we learn that very soon as a child, as an infant, especially North American culture, that every little thing could be negative. I used to preach quite a bit. It's like trauma is in the eye of the beholder, because it really is. Like what's traumatic to a 6-month-old is not traumatic to an adult. Although some adults probably on the same emotional intelligence level as a toddler or an infant in today's world in 2026. But it's, you misgendered me. Anyway, cancel coming right now. It's ironic that I was talking about cancel. This cancel culture is going to kill me on this one for that. So, bring it, I guess. But yeah, we have learned very young and programmed that in where it's like second nature. So And again, it came from a survival place. Anything that's negative actually comes from a positive. It's called secondary gain. At one point in time, somewhere in the past, any negative habit you have today was something that served you at a younger date. Probably when you were a child, probably between birth and 4, 5, 6 years old, most time, pre-7. Um, but some things a little later, just depending on what it is. But most of the stuff is in that 4, 5, 6 age range. So there you go. That was trying to hit that from every different angle I could, because like I say, that is one of the questions that I hear the most, one of the biggest concerns I hear the most, and in the different conversations and interactions and research and studying I've done around it and answering, that's about every angle of the answer I can give from each side of the equation. I don't think I missed any. I hope not, because that was quite a bit. But if it's not clear 100%, you guys know how to reach me. So we're going to wrap it up right there. And like I say, keep the feedback coming, keep the questions coming, and anything on this episode or any other episode that you want some more on, more clarity on, reach out. Either I'll answer it in that message, or if it takes a little more, I'll do a mini show or something. I'll get it answered. But anything you want to hear that we haven't covered yet, keep those coming as well. Love it. I want to create this, or I created this to help guys in the industry, everyone else, learn from my foul ups, my mistakes, my screw ups, my crash and burns, my starting overs, and my successes and my wins. Even though there's been a whole lot more of the crash and burns, I feel like, but and definitely more of the fumbles and stumbles. But it's built a heck of a career and adventure for me, and inside and outside of the industry. So this is how I want to help and give back, and hopefully see a lot of you guys do better, better than I have, faster than I have, without the same amount of heartache. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Look forward to catching you on the next one.